Hello, and welcome to the webinar. My name is Philip, and I'll be presenting for you today. And in this home designer webinar, we're going to go through a kitchen, bath, and interior design project. We have several different home designer programs. I'm going to be using a home designer professional today, but if I use features that are specific to professional or architectural or suite, I'll be sure to call them out as I use them. We're going to be creating the plan that you see in the picture on the right-hand side of the screen, and the plan for this webinar is going to focus around a kitchen and interior design project, but many of the tools and features we use will be applicable to bath-related projects, and we'll call out a few features specific to bath design in home designer software. We're going to start off by creating our initial floor plan, then go through and define the kitchen room and add the soffits to the plan. We'll then go through and add doors and windows and design them. We'll then go through and take a look at how cabinetry works in Home Designer software and add appliances. We'll design the island, add furniture, create an electrical plan. We'll be using various materials throughout, and we'll create a layout sheet which is available in Home Designer Professional. And throughout the demonstration, we'll be using various 3D rendering techniques. So let's get started. So here I am in Home Designer. Up at the top of the screen, you'll have your architectural toolbar. This is going to be things like walls and doors and windows and cabinets. And when you click on one of these parent tools up here, you'll have what's called child tools appear on the left-hand side. Additionally, there's a preference you can set up so that you have a drop-down with these child tools. Notice that I have an object selected, and when I press spacebar, it frees up our selection so that we can then select other objects. Off to the right-hand side, we have our library browser, which will contain thousands of items that you can use to customize your design. There's going to be the core catalogs, which download by default with the program, the bonus and manufacturer catalogs, which you can download from our website. And you'll notice that Home Designer partners with tons of manufacturers, and even more than we have listed here, to make sure you have lots of customization options. And then we have the user catalog, which is where you can hold items that you've custom created or that you frequently use and need quick access to. And you'll notice that I have a folder here for some items that we're going to be using today. I'm going to go ahead and close out of our library browser for the time being. And the first thing we're going to do is create our initial floor plan. Here's a photo of what that floor plan is going to look like. Over in this area over here, we're going to have a living room. We're going to have our kitchen area and island over here. We'll have a small pantry down in this area with a barn door, and then up to the top we'll have a dining alcove. So to get started, I'm going to go over to our wall tools, and there's going to be various tools. There's going to be a straight exterior wall, interior wall, foundation walls, and some wall tools specific to bath design will be a straight glass wall for showers or a glass pony wall that you would also use for showers. And here's a quick render of what that straight glass shower wall will look like. You'll notice that it's just a standard glass wall. Additionally, here's a render of that pony wall. You'll notice that the top half is glass, and then the lower half is a tiled wall with a wall cap. And this glass pony wall option becomes available in Home Designer Architectural, and in the program you can adjust the height of the lower half relative to the upper half. I'm going to go ahead and minimize this photo, but to get started with our initial floor plan, we could use either our exterior wall or the interior wall for an interior design project. The main difference being that the exterior wall will have your siding and sheathing, framing, and drywall, whereas this one will just have your drywall, framing, and the drywall. If your project's a relatively simple kitchen or bath design, you might just use the interior wall tool, but if you're going to have multiple rooms, or if you need to show the siding, you might use the exterior wall tool. So to get started, I'm going to use our straight exterior wall tool, and notice that as I click and drag our walls that we're getting a temporary dimension appear. Use these dimensions as more of a guide for the time being, and we'll come back through and hone in our dimensions. And watch what happens as I drag this wall so that it's even with the wall on the other side. If you're using the Home Designer Professional, you get a little blue dash coplanar line indicating that when you drag your next wall up, you'll meet that wall on the other side. And there I've connected all of my walls, and you'll notice that when I did that, a couple of things happened. One, we got auto exterior dimensions going around our floor plan, and two, we have green dashed lines indicating where our roof planes are. At any point we can take a 3D view, so let's go up to our 3D cameras in the toolbar, and you'll notice that there's a couple of options here in Home Designer Pro. The first option is going to be a full camera, which is like a first person point of view. Next is a perspective full overview, which is like a bird's eye view that includes the roof. The next view is a dollhouse view, which will be similar to the perspective full overview, but the roof and ceiling are intentionally removed. We're going to go ahead and use the dollhouse view for now. And you can see how Home Designer has built our plan, and inside the plan we automatically have flooring and molding, and also in Home Designer it automatically builds a foundation for you. You can work in both 2D and 3D at the same time by grabbing this tab at the top and then just pulling it side by side with your floor plan view. You can also tile your views side by side by going up to Window and then Tile vertically. So next, let's dimension our floor plan. If we focus in on this wall right here, you'll notice that the length of this wall is currently 16 feet 5 inches. If you want the length of this wall to change, either the wall on the left or the wall on the right is going to have to change its position to account for this wall's change in size. If we select the wall on the right, we can then go up to this dimension that says 16 feet 5 inches and type in a new dimension. And notice that I've got the tick symbol there to indicate feet, and press enter. And that wall on the right will move, and then that dimension will be updated to account for this wall's change in length. If we zoom in close on this dimension, you'll notice that it's coming to the exterior framing layer of this wall. If this is a kitchen and bath or interior design project, you probably want your dimensions to be picking up from that interior drywall surface, and there's an easy way to do that in Home Designer software. First, I'm going to zoom out of my floor plan a little bit, and I no longer want these dimensions since we're going to be dimensioning from the interior. So I'm going to go up to our dimension tool and select it, and then come over and I'm going to hold Shift on my keyboard and marquee over our dimensions. And then in the bottom left hand corner you can see that it says 6 objects currently selected, and those objects are only dimensions since I selected the dimension tool and then held Shift to marquee over my plan. So with those dimensions selected, I'm just going to press delete. The program's going to ask us if we want to turn off the automatic exterior dimensions, and I'm going to click on yes. And now we no longer see those dimensions displayed. So next, if you want to adjust your dimensions going from drywall surface to drywall surface on the interior of the plan, you can select inside the room, and then in the bottom left hand corner there's an option for auto interior dimensions, and if you click on it, the program's just automatically going to put dimensions going from drywall surface to drywall surface. Another dimensioning tool worth mentioning is if you select your dimension tools and then come over, you're going to have a manual dimension, an end-to-end dimension. If you're using Home Designer Pro, you'll have an angular dimension and a point-to-point dimension. But the dimension tool I want to call out is going to be this interior dimension tool. And click and hold and drag it to wall, you'll notice that we get a dimension that says 28 feet 1 inch, whereas this dimension is 28 feet exact. And if you zoom in close, the dimension on the right is going to our framing layer, whereas the dimension on the left is going through our drywall layer. So I just wanted to call that out in case you ever need to dimension from your framing layers. I'm going to go ahead and delete that dimension. And then next we're going to go through and dimension a few walls in our floor plan. So I'm going to come up, and the first wall I want to dimension is going to be this one that is currently 28 feet. So I'm going to adjust the wall above it, select the dimension, type in our new desired dimension, and press enter. And that space is going to automatically update. Next, I want to dimension this wall that is currently 16 feet. So I'm going to move the wall on the right, select the dimension, type in our new dimension, and press enter. And that wall's position is going to update. Next, I'm going to update this wall that is currently 10 feet 2 inches. So I'm going to come to the wall at the top, select our dimension, and instead of typing in 8 feet with the tick symbol, you could instead just type in 96, and it's not necessary to put the inch symbol since our program thinks in inches, and press enter. And that wall's position is going to update. And then the last wall I want to dimension is going to be this one over here, so I'm going to select it, type in 16 feet, and press enter. And there we have our exterior walls dimensioned. So our floor plan is going to have a few interior walls for a closet and then to complete the alcove for the cabinetry. So we're going to go ahead and add those walls next by going up to our wall tool, selecting our straight interior wall, and I'm just coming in and loosely placing them, not being too precise at this moment. And then I'm just going to refresh our auto interior dimensions by selecting in the room, selecting the auto interior dimension button. And then next I'm going to come through and select this wall and then change its dimension to be 28 feet from the wall on the other side. And then I'm going to change this wall's position. And then the last wall I'm going to dimension is going to be this one. And then I'm also going to move it relative to the wall above it. So I'm going to select it and change it to 11 feet. And there we've got our floor plan precisely dimensioned. So next, to clean up our floor plan again, I'm going to delete those dimensions same way we did before by selecting the dimension tool, marking over them, and then just pressing delete. And then another way you might clean up your floor plan, you'll notice that we have these green dashed lines for the roof. You can turn off the display of these roof planes by going up to Tools and then Display Options. And if you're using Home Designer Pro, you'll have a little shortcut right here to get to those display options. And that's going to bring up the Layer Display Options box. So every object you see in your floor plan is going to be associated with a layer. And to turn on and off layers, you just go down to the layer you want to turn on or off. In this case, we don't want to see our roof planes, so we're just going to uncheck the display of the roof planes. And when we click OK, our floor plan will update. And depending on which program you're using, you're going to have different options for controlling the display of your layers, with Home Designer Professional having the most customization options. I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. And there in our floor plan, we no longer see those roof planes. So next, let's go ahead and close our dollhouse view. And for the time being, I'm going to take another 3D view using our full camera. This one is more of the first person point of view. And I'm just going to click and point it in this area over here. And then again, I'm going to tile my views vertically. And next, I want to tell the program how this room be used by defining the room type. So if I select in the plan, and then down in the bottom left-hand corner, select Open Object, you'll open up the room specification dialog box. Here we can define what type of room this is, and defining a room type is important because the program will apply structural and material default settings to the room based on the room type. So here you can see all the room types that come with the program, and I'm going to go ahead and define that it's going to be a kitchen. You'll notice that we also have a room label that will eventually display in our floor plan, and if you wanted to override what that room label displays as, you can do so here. If we go down to the structural panel, you can define floor and room height information, and notice that there's a diagram off to the right hand side with our various height information. If you come over to these different fields, notice that over in that diagram on the right that the dimension that we have our mouse highlighted over changes in red. It just makes it easy to understand your structural information. If you wanted to change the height of your floor to your ceiling, you can do so in this finish ceiling option. And then down below you have options for defining more information about the structure. Here we have a checkbox that says flat ceiling over this room, and if you take a look at the photo of the finished design, this room's actually going to be vaulted in a shed style ceiling and roof. So we're going to go ahead and uncheck this flat ceiling over this room, and then our ceiling in the plan is going to be following our roof planes. In Home Designer Pro, you can specify more ceiling structural information and more floor structural information. Similarly, on the left-hand side, you can specify whether you have a molding in the room. If you're using Home Designer Architectural or Professional, you can specify a wall covering and then other pieces of information. I'm going to go ahead and press OK, and we'll notice that a few things are going to happen. First, in our 3D view, you'll notice that the ceiling vaulted and it's just following our roof planes. And then in our floor plan view, we have a room label indicating that it's a kitchen. So next, let's go ahead and take a look at how the roof features in the software impact your ceiling structure, and we'll go ahead and add that shed style roof and ceiling into the plan. So in our floor plan view, I'm going to go ahead and turn back on our roof planes layer. And then because we had that flat ceiling over this room setting checked in the room dialog box, our ceiling planes are just following our roof. So if we adjust our roof to be the shed style, the ceiling planes will follow. And let's actually take a 3D full overview of our model for a little bit. And we're just going to bring it over to the right hand side. And then there's a couple of ways to design your roof in Home Designer software. First, if you come over to a wall and select it, and then open up its specification, here you can specify a lot of information on the wall. There's different structural information about the wall, how the roof should interact with the wall, how the foundation should. You can change your wall types and other various settings. In the middle here you can make those changes, and then on the right hand side you can see a 3D preview of what any wall changes will look like. In regards to the roof, we're going to go over to the roof panel, and here you can change how the program should build the roof over that particular wall. If you want to change the pitch or overhang length, roof returns, and so forth, you can. But for this project, since we're going to have a high shed wall with the shed's highest point being over on the right hand side, we're going to specify that's a high shed gable wall and then click on OK. And you can see how that changes it in our 3D view. And then next we want these walls to be the sloping walls of our shed. So I'm going to select them by holding Control to do so. And then I'm going to open up their specification. And then I'm going to go to Roof. And then check out this option for Full Gable and click on OK. And that's going to slope them up to the highest point of our shed. And you'll notice that it's very dramatic right now. So we need to adjust the slope of how it's pitching coming from these walls on the left hand side. So back in the floor plan, I'm going to select these two walls, open them up, go to the roof panel, and then I'm going to specify the pitch to be 1.5 rise for the run, and click on OK. And now our roof is going to be adjusted how we want it to, and if we look back in our floor plan view, we have that shed ceiling started. So next I'm going to close this perspective full overview since we don't need it anymore. So next in the dining alcove, you'll notice that the ceiling isn't the same height as the rest of the plan. The reason for this is the wall that the pitch starts at isn't the same wall as the living room area. So what we need to do is we need to make this dining room area its own separate room and then increase the ceiling height of this room so that it matches the rest of the plan. So in our floor plan view, I'm going to go over to our wall tools, and you'll notice that there's an option for a room divider. This room divider is really an invisible wall that just lets you separate areas of the plans for scenarios like this. So you'll notice that when I did that, we now have two separate rooms, and it automatically defined it as a kitchen. But next I need to know how far I need to increase this ceiling height. So what I'm going to do is in our floor plan view, I'm going to go up to our orthographic camera tools. And if you're using Home Designer Pro, you'll have a back-clipped cross-section view. And if you're using Home Designer Architectural, you'll have this regular elevation cross-section camera that you can do the same thing with. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a back-clipped cross-section just through a small area of the plan. And you'll notice that we can see the two different ceiling heights. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a CAD line over to where this ceiling plane would be extending. And then I'm going to go up to our dimension tools, and using the end-to-end dimension, I'm just going to dimension from the ceiling plane right here down to that CAD line. You can see that that dimension is 1 feet 9 inches. So I know that I need to raise this room by 1 feet 9 inches. So in our 3D view, I'm going to select it, open up the room, and then I'm first of all going to change the room type to be a dining so that our room label updates. And then if I go to structure, I'm going to add 1 feet 9 inches. And then I'm just going to press tab. That's going to update our diagram. And then I'm also going to uncheck flat ceiling over this room and click on OK. And there, that's going to vault that ceiling. So I'm going to go ahead and close this cross-section view. And next I'm going to add the beams that you see going across our ceiling here. And to add these beams, we're actually going to use the Soffit tool in the software. I'm going to reposition my 3D view just slightly for now. So to use your Soffit tool, go up to your cabinet options, and you'll notice that there's going to be an option here for base, wall, full height, Soffit, and then a few other options we'll come back to. But I'm going to start with the Soffit, and then I'm just going to come into the plan and click once to place it. And you'll notice how it gets added into our 3D view there. And then in our floor plan view, I'm just going to select it. You'll notice that we get that temporary dimension, and I'm just going to re-drag it back so that it's 6 inches wide. And then I'm going to double click on it to open it up. And then here we can modify information about it. If you also wanted to attach a molding to it, you can. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the height to be 12 inches. And then I'm going to check this option down here for place under roof. And by doing so, it's just going to follow our roof planes all the way across. And this place under roof option is available in Home Designer Architectural and Professional. And then I'm just going to click OK. And then in my floor plan view, I'm going to zoom out a bit. And then just click the square handle in the middle and then just drag it across. And you can see in our 3D view how it's following the roof and the ceiling. And then I'm going to complete dragging it all the way to the other side over there. So next, if you take a look at our photo, we need to adjust the material that you see displayed on these Soffit beams. So I'm first going to make our 3D view full screen. And then to change your material, I'm going to open up back up that library browser. And then here I'm going to go to our core catalogs, and you'll notice that there's a lot of different objects. So these will be things like fixtures that we'll be using here in a bit, and then materials. I'm going to go down to wood, and then cherry, and then I'm going to use this rustic cherry material. And then as I bring my mouse into the plan, notice how it changes from the mouse arrow to a spray can, indicating that I'm going to be applying material. And then I'm just going to click once to place it. So you'll notice that we placed that material on the beam, but you'll notice that it's going the wrong way. So what I'm going to do is in my toolbar, select this option that says Adjust Material Definition, and then come and click on the soffit. And then here you can adjust how the material displays in your plan. And if I go down to Texture, here you can change the angle that this material is running. So instead of running this way, I'm going to adjust it so it's running just slightly over 90 degrees. And then click on OK. And then there, that looks a lot better in our 3D view. So next, I know that I want 3 more copies of these soffit beams evenly placed from each other. And there's a couple of ways you can do that. If you go back to your floor plan view, you can select it, make copies of it, and then use your dimensioning tools to place them evenly apart from each other. But if you're using Home Designer Professional, with that soffit beam selected, there's a tool in the bottom called Transform Replicate Object. And this allows you to make copies of the object and then move them a certain distance apart from each other. So I'm going to specify that I want 3 more copies, and I'm going to move them a negative 84 inches apart from each other in our Y delta, and then click on OK. And the program's just automatically going to place those. And if you take a look in our 3D view, we now have those soffit beams in place. So while we have our library browser open, another material I'm going to adjust is going to be our flooring material to match what you see in the photo. And this material is going to fall under our manufacturer catalogs. So in my library, I'm going to go down to the manufacturer options, expand it. And then this is going to be from our wide plank flooring, Carly Sill wide plank flooring. And I'm just going to find where that material is. And then I'm going to come into the plan, and notice in the bottom left-hand corners you have different scoping modes. Right now I'm in my component mode, so I don't only change one component, but you can change the scoping to be object wide, room wide, floor wide, or plan wide. So I'm going to change the material on the floor since we have a separate kitchen area and a separate dining room, and click once, and it's going to update that material throughout the first floor. So next, if you take a look at a photo of the completed design, we're going to add a sliding glass panel door over into this area, and this is going to actually be having 4 sliding doors. So I'm going to go ahead and reposition our 3D view slightly so that we're looking in on this area. And let's go ahead and close the library browser for now. And to add the door, go up to your door tools, and there's going to be several options here, just a swinging door, a doorway, sliding doors, and so forth. But for now, I'm just going to select the hinge door and then come in to place it. And then since we're placing this door in an exterior wall, it's more of an exterior style. But we can double click on that specification to open it up. And here on this first panel, you can change general information about the door, what the style of it's going to be. Maybe we'll change it to a glass panel. You can also change the door type being used here as well. You can change information about the width of it. On the left hand side, you can change other options for how it should display. You can change the casing profile being used in Home Designer Pro. In Pro, you can also adjust lintels, add a light. In Pro, specify information about the jamb, the arch, and other information about the door. I'm going to go ahead and press on OK. You can see how that updates in our 3D view, and if you look at the door, there's little handles around it, and you can select this handle and drag it out, and once you get past a certain distance, it's going to automatically reconfigure it to a set of double doors. I'm going to go ahead and double click on this door to open it up, and for what I want to do, I'm going to change the door type to be a slider door, and I'm going to specify that I want the width of it to be 120 inches. I'm going to press tab, and notice that we have 2 doors here for now, but if you go to the options panel, you can specify that it's going to be a quad door, and then I'm just going to press on OK, and there that door is going to change, and you'll notice that we need to reposition it in the wall. If we go up to our floor plan view and select it, we can go down to this center object tool and then just come in and make sure that we have it centered where we want to. And then if you want to show the display of this door open in your 3D views, you can select it, and then in the bottom toolbar there's an option for show door open in 3D. So next let's go ahead and add a barn door over into what will be our pantry area over here. So to add the barn door, I'm going to go up to our door tools again, and there's an option down here for barn door, and then just come in and click once to place it. And you can see how it placed facing on the inside of the closet, but I can select it, and in the bottom toolbar there's options for changing the swing side, or if you wanted to change the hinge side you can do so as well. You can also show that open in 3D if you wanted to. Additionally, if you wanted to change the hardware and the door style being used, we can do so. So let's open up our library browser. And if we go up to the bonus catalogs and then down to doors, there's going to be a catalog for sliding barn doors, and here you can find a different hardware that you would like to use, and you can just click on this hardware, and then when you come into the 3D view you notice that your little mouse pointer updates, and then when you select applicable objects to swap out you can. So let's go ahead and swap out the doors panel that we're using as well. I'm going to go ahead and select this X-brace door and then just come in and click on OK. And then the last thing I want to do is adjust the door slightly, so I'm going to select it and then I'm just going to move it over a little bit. Next, this is going to end up being a small pantry, so what I'm going to do is close our library browser and pull our floor plan view side by side with our 3D view. And then up in our cabinet tools there's going to be an option here for shelf, so I'm going to select it, come in here and click once to place it, and you'll notice how it's placing very high in there, and we also need to adjust it so it's covering this whole area. So I'm going to select it and then drag it so it's going to our drywall surface throughout this little room. And then I'm going to open up the specification, and I'm going to specify that I want the floor to bottom to be 24 inches. And then click on OK. And then our 3D view, you can see how it dropped it. And with that still selected, I'm going to once again use that transform replicate object option. And I'm going to specify that we're going to make 2 more copies of it. And this time we're going to place the copies up 24 inches in our Z delta. So it's going to raise them in our 3D view. And click on OK. And then that's going to be all the shelves that we're going to add. So next let's go ahead and add the windows that you see over in this area of the plan. These windows are going to be just outside the dining area, and they're going to be angled windows that follow the pitch of the roof. So we're going to go ahead and make our 3D view our full screen, and then just rotate our camera over into this area of the plan. And then next, to add a window, go up to your window tool options, and there's just a standard window, a bay window, boxed window, and a few other options. But we're just going to select our window and then come into the wall we want to place it in and click once. And you can see how the program adds that. And if you select it, just like with doors, you can resize these in 3D view if you wanted to. And if you double click on it to open up its dialog, you can change the window type that we're using. So we'll go ahead and change it to be just a fixed glass option. But you can see the program has lots of different options available. Here you can also change the width, so I'm going to change it to be 60 inches wide by 72 inches high. If you want to change the floor to bottom, you can do so right here. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust this to be 32 inches off the floor. And then you'll notice that we have many of those same panels that we did with the doors. And that's one of the nice things about the software is oftentimes you learn a technique or approach in one area of the program and it applies throughout other areas of the software. So I'm going to go ahead and click on OK here. And then next we're going to place some windows into this wall over here. So I'm going to go up to the window tool and then just come over and click once to place our first window. And I'm going to open up its specification for editing. And then I'm going to change the width to be 54 inches wide. And I'm going to adjust the height as well. And then you'll recall that in our completed photo we have these windows angled to match our roof pitch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to the panel that says shape on the left hand side. And I'm just going to click on this option for match roof and then just click on OK. So that's going to be the first window, and then I'm going to select that window and I'm going to make a copy of it. And then notice how my mouse has changed there, and I'm just going to click once to place the copy, and then I'm going to move it so that's next to our first window, and then I'm going to adjust the height of it so that the casings are matching. And then I'm going to do the same thing with one more window, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this first window and I'm going to press copy, and then there's another tool for reflect about object, and you'll notice that I get a little line indicating I can reflect the copy about this center window. So there we know it's in the correct position, and then we just need to recheck that shape option. So I'm going to double click on it to open it up. Go over to shape, click on match roof, and then click on OK. And then I'm just going to adjust the height of this window as well. And then that's going to complete adding those windows into this back wall. And then I just want to make sure that I have them centered in the room. So I'm going to select the first window and then hold Control to select the other two windows. And then in the bottom toolbar there's an option for center object. And then notice that we get that gray dashed line. And then since I have that centered in the room, I'm just going to click once. And there we know that those windows are in the correct position. So next let's add our cabinetry into the design. So I'm going to refocus our 3D view slightly into this area where we're going to be placing our cabinets. And to place a cabinet, go up to your cabinet options in the top toolbar, and there's going to be a base cabinet, a wall cabinet, a full height cabinet, the soffit which we already used. You can add shelves, you can add partitions, and then in Home Designer, Architectural, and Professional you have custom countertops and a custom backsplash tool. To get started, we're just going to place a standard base cabinet, and you can see how I have a little 3D preview of that cabinet as I move it around. And as I push my mouse in the corner, you can see that the program's smart enough to recognize that in most situations it would be a corner cabinet. I'm going to go ahead and just place it right here for now. But just like with our other objects in Home Designer, you can modify these in 3Ds. If I select it once, you can see that we have little dimensions indicating the size of it, and you can resize them if you wanted to. And you'll notice there that the program's smart enough to make that a set of double doors. Similar to our regular door tool, you can change properties about your cabinets directly in 3D. So let's open up our library browser. And then I'm going to go ahead and go back up to our core catalogs. And under the architectural folder, there's an option here for cabinet doors, drawers, and panels. So the program ships with about 24 or so door types and drawer types that you can use in the program. And to change the door or drawer style, simply come in here and find a new door or drawer style that you would like to use. And then just come in and click on the door that you would like to place it on. And you'll notice how the program updates it there. Similarly with the hardware, if we go down to the hardware folder, you'll notice that there's an option for cabinet hardware, and we can just navigate to where we would like to find new hardware options, and then just click on the hardware that you would like to change out. And you can see there how we change the cabinet door hardware, and then same thing with the drawer, just select the hardware and swap it out. So one thing you'll notice is that when we place a base cabinet, it's already going to have a door style and a drawer style hardware and materials selected. And this is because our default settings are set up to be this type of style. If you look at a photo of the completed design, you'll notice that our materials are different for the cabinets of the final design. We have a different countertop material. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this in our default settings so that any base cabinets that we place are automatically set up with these materials and settings. So I'm going to go ahead and delete these two cabinets. I'm going to close our library browser. And then I'm going to go over to our default settings, and then I'm going to select on cabinets, and you can see that you can change the defaults for a lot of objects here, and I'm just going to double click on base cabinet, and here you can change how every base cabinet you place in the design should place. Here you can modify options for your default sizing, your default countertop overhang. If you want a small backsplash coming up off your cabinets, you can specify that here. In Home Designer Pro you can adjust the toe kick. In Home Designer Pro you can modify the box construction or your overlay amounts. If you go to this front panel, in Home Designer Pro you have more advanced editing options for how the front face of your cabinet should display. You can change information for your doors and drawers here. So what we're going to do is we're going to change our door hardware. So I'm going to click on library, and then here I'm just going to type in bar pull, and here it's going to bring up all the options that start with that. And I'm just going to select this option. If you right click and then select on the show in browser option, it's going to show you where in the library browser that item is located. So I'm going to click on OK. And then I'm going to do the same thing with our drawer handle. I'm just going to press on library and type in bar pull, and then select the corresponding drawer pull. Click on OK. But if you wanted to change your default drawer style, you can do so here. And then same thing with the door style that you're using. You can add moldings to your cabinet and change other pieces of information about your cabinets. And if you're using Home Designer Professional, you can adjust components that will directly feed into your materials list or change object information that will feed into your materials list. I'm going to go ahead and change the materials, and you'll notice that there's a lot of material options, and what we want to do is just change our cabinet box, doors, and drawers. So I'm going to select cabinet, and then I'm just going to select all the applicable items that I want to change the material for, and then click on select material. And then this is going to bring up the library browser, and one of the cool things about this is that it's context sensitive, meaning it's only going to show you materials, so you're not going to be picking out hardware or anything else here. So I'm just going to go down to wood, and then I'm going to find a wood material that I want to use, and then I'm just going to click on OK. You can see how that updates our little 3D preview, and this is our vector view rendering technique. If you want to see what that looks like in your standard view, you can do so there. I'm going to click on OK. And so now our default settings are set up for our base cabinets, and I already have the default settings set up for the full height cabinet and also for our wall cabinets as well. I'm going to go ahead and click on done. And the first cabinet that we're going to add into the plan is going to be a full height cabinet, which will hold a double oven. So I'm going to come up to our cabinet tools and then just make sure I have the full height option selected, and then I'm just going to click once to place it, and then I'm going to select it and then bump it over to the side over here. I'm also going to resize it to be 30 inches wide, and then next I'm going to add that double wall oven, and to do that we're going to open up our library browser. And let's actually collapse our core catalogs by right-clicking on it and selecting collapse all, and then we'll do the same thing with the bonus catalogs. And then in our manufacturer catalogs, we're going to go down to our Wolf manufacturer, Wolf Cooking. You just down these directly from our website over at homedesignersoftware.com. But I'm going to go down to wall ovens, and then I've already got one picked out that I want to use. And then you just come over to the cabinet and click once, and it's going to automatically add that into the cabinet. And then if you wanted to get more specific with where this wall oven is located in the cabinet, you can do that in Home Designer Professional. If we double click on this cabinet to open it up, you can select on it, and here you can see the item height and then its relation to other doors and drawers in the cabinet. We're going to go ahead and accept it for how it is, so I'm going to cancel out of that. But the next cabinet we're going to add is going to be a base cabinet over right here. So I'm going to come up to our cabinet tools, select just a base cabinet, and then just come in and click once to place it. I'm then going to resize it to be 33 inches wide. And then I'm going to change this one to be a bank of drawers by double clicking on it. And then I'm going to go down to the front option. And then in Home Designer Professional, what you can do is you can just select on these doors, and then up here click on delete. And you can see that that's going to leave it as an opening that you can then select on and then delete it as well. And so here we have one giant drawer, but if we wanted to split that into a bank of 4 drawers, we would select it, select split horizontal. Now we have two drawers. If I select split horizontal again, we now have 3. One more time and we have 4. And then to make sure that they're all the same size, you can select as vertical layout parent and then click on equalize. And by doing that, we know that all these drawers are the same size. If you are using Home Designer Suite or Architectural, you can make your cabinet have 4 drawers by adding new face items to the front face of the cabinet and manually inputting the height of those face items. I'm going to go ahead and click on OK, and you can see how that updates. And then the next cabinet we're going to add is going to be a wall cabinet. So I'm going to go up to our wall cabinet options and then just come and click once to place it. And then I'm going to go ahead and resize its width to be 33 inches as well. And then I'm going to change the door style that we see here to be the kind of this cross style. So in our library browser, I'm going to go up to the core catalogs, down to architectural, cabinet drawers, doors and panels, doors, and I'm going to select this cross option and then just come in and click once to place it. And you can see how the material is different, so we need to adjust that. And I'm going to adjust that using the material eyedropper tool, which allows you to select a material off one object and then apply it to others. And I'm going to change the scoping mode to be component wide, so we're just changing it to one component. And then the other change I'm going to make, if you look at the photo, is to the cabinet interior material. And this is a new feature to the 2021 version of the software, to be able to specify a different material for those cabinet insides. So I'm going to go down to the materials option, select cabinet interior, select material, and then from here it's as easy as just going to your user catalog and finding a new material that you want to use. And then you can also specify that you want to show those doors open if you would like to. So the next cabinet we're going to add is going to have a cooktop right here in the middle. So I'm going to go up to our base cabinet tools, just click once to add a base cabinet, and then I'm going to click on it and resize its width to be 36 inches wide. And then over in my user catalog, I already have this item picked out, and this item is actually going to be a Sub-Zero item. And then I'm just going to come and click once to place it. And then next I know I need a hood for it as well, so I'm going to select on the hood that I've already got picked out, and then I'm going to come in and then just come to place it and bump it up against the cabinet. And if you wanted to raise it so that's a little bit above the hood a little bit more, you can. You can also double click on that and specify the floor to bottom amount if you wanted to. But next I want to extend it so that the hood exhaust is going into our ceiling. So I'm going to select the object and then just bump it up to the ceiling. And then the next thing I'm going to do is copy those cabinets that we've already added and reflect them to the other side right here. So I'm going to select the first one, hold Control, select the second one, copy, reflect it about the middle. And that's going to complete those ones. And then next we're going to add a partition, a wall cabinet, our fridge, and then another partition. And to do this, I'm going to pull our 3D view and our floor plan view side by side. And I'm just going to zoom in close to this area. And let's go ahead and close these doors as they're a little bit distracting. And I'm going to go up to our cabinet tools, select the partition option, and then just come in and click once to place it. And you can see how it's placed in our 3D view. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select it and then bump it up to the wall cabinet and then extend it out to the front. And you'll notice in our 3D view how the countertop is merging through it a little bit. What we can do is we can select these three cabinets by holding Control, and then in the bottom toolbar, if you're using Home Designer Architectural or Professional, you have an option that says Generate Custom Countertop. So that's going to allow you to modify the countertop independently of the cabinets. So with that selected, I'm just going to drag it back so that it's not merging into the partition. And then I just need to adjust the height of the partition so that it matches the wall cabinets. So I'm going to select the partition, open it up, and then here I'm going to adjust the height to be 102 inches, and then go ahead and click on OK. And that's going to bump it up there. So next we need to add the fridge into this area of the plan, and what I've done is I have gone out to Sub-Zero's website and I've found a fridge that I want to use in the plan, and we have a lot of manufacturer catalogs. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a mental note as to the first few digits of that model number, BI-36UF, and I'm going to come over to the library browser and type in just those first few numbers. And you can see that brings up a few catalog options, and I'm just going to click on the object, right click, and then show in browser. And then that's going to show where that's at in the library browser once you have these catalogs downloaded from our website. So I'm going to select that fridge, and then I'm just going to come in and click once to place it in this space. And you can see how the software is going to add it, and then I'm just going to make sure that I have it bumped against that partition. And it looks like we're nice and snug in there. So the next thing I need to do is add a wall cabinet over this area. So I'm going to go over to our cabinet tools, select wall cabinet, and then just come in and click once to place it. And you can see how the program adds that in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it 24 inches deep, and then have it extend to the other side of the fridge. And then the last thing I'm going to do is copy this partition about to the other side by selecting it, copy, reflect about object, and then just reflect it about the center there. And there we've got those cabinets completed. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and the next thing we're going to work on is going to be the island that you see here in the completed design. And this island is going to have what will be our kitchen sink, and then on the other side of it is going to be our dishwasher, a trash compactor, and we'll take a look at a new feature in the 2021 version to automatically create that waterfall. So let's go ahead and back out of our 3D view just slightly here, and in our floor plan view we're going to zoom in a little bit, and we're just going to place a base cabinet, and we're not being too specific about where it's placed, but this cabinet is going to hold our sink, and let's turn it around so it's facing the stove. And we're going to go ahead and resize this to be 33 inches wide. And then using the center object tool, I'm going to make sure we have it centered over our stove. And then using our end-to-end dimension tool, I'm going to make sure that we have it dimensioned 42 inches from the front of the other cabinets to make sure that we have enough walking space. So I can just type in 42 there. And then next I'm going to make our 3D view our full screen. And I'm just going to rotate our view around slightly. And we need to place a sink into this cabinet, so we're going to open up our library browser. And similar to our fridge, I've gone out to Kohler's website and I've found a sink that I want to use. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take another mental note of the model number K-5290 and come over to the library browser, and that's going to bring up some options. I'm going to select it, right click and select show in browser. And that's going to show us where it's at in the browser, and it's going to be under the Kohler catalog. And you'll notice that we have a lot of items for Kohler. If you're working on a bathroom design, there's going to be options for bathtubs and bath sinks and bath faucets and toilets and other bath related design options. But for us, we're just going to select this sink and then come over to the cabinet and click once, and then the software is going to automatically cut a hole in the top of the cabinet to fit the sink. And if we double click on the cabinet to open it up, and then we click on the drawer, you'll notice that the software there's automatically changed it to a false drawer. I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of that. And then next we need to place a faucet for the sink, so I'm going to go ahead and go down to my user library where I already have a faucet picked out. And then I'm just going to come over to the cabinet and click once to place it. And then that's looking good. And next I'm going to add another cabinet to the left of the sink cabinet, and this one's going to hold our dishwasher. And in Home Designer software, once you have the cabinet placed for the dishwasher, you can select your dishwasher from the library, and notice that this one is a GE dishwasher, and then just click in the cabinet to place it, and then the software will add it. And then we need to add one more cabinet on the end over here, so I'm going to select the cabinet tool, come up and place it, and then I'm going to resize this cabinet so that it is 9 inches wide. And then I'm going to remove the drawer here by double clicking to open it up. Select on the drawer and then just delete it. And then instead of it being an auto right door, I'm going to change it to be an auto left. And then click on OK. And then that's going to complete this side of the island. And then on the other side, I'm going to select our cabinet tool and then just click once to place another cabinet. And then I'm going to select it and then resize it to be 15 inches wide. And then in my user catalog, I have a GE trash compactor already picked out. And then I'm just going to click once to apply it. And then I'm going to add one final cabinet to this side. And then I'm just going to make this one 18 inches wide. And then that's going to complete all the cabinetry design that we're going to do in the plan. So next let's go ahead and make it so that our countertop extends over our cabinets a little bit and then have it waterfall off the sides. So to do that, I am going to close our library browser to give us a little bit more screen space, and then split our views side by side. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all these cabinets for the island. So I've got our cabinet tool selected, and then I'm holding shift and then marking around them. And by doing that, I've selected only our cabinets. And then in the bottom toolbar, I'm going to press that custom countertop option, and that allows us to create a custom countertop in this area. And then I'm going to zoom in and select just the countertop, and you can see the size of it, and I'm going to select it, and then I'm going to add another 8 inches onto it, 1 inch for the existing countertop and another 8 inches to make it extending a total of 9 inches. And there we have that countertop extending. And then a new feature added to the 2021 version of Home Designer Architectural and Professional is to have the countertop waterfall over the sides. So when you select that custom countertop, in the bottom toolbar you'll notice a new option for waterfall, and that's going to have it waterfall off that side, and then we'll do the same thing over onto the other side. So next I'm going to add a custom backsplash behind our range. So to do that, I'm going to go up to our cabinet design tools, and there's an option here for custom backsplash. And then if we come over to behind this range and just click on the wall, you'll see that the program's automatically created a backsplash. And if we select on it and then extend it to the ceiling, that's going to complete the placement of the backsplash. And this backsplash tool is smart, so if we had clicked and placed it on this wall instead, it would have cut around our windows. And this custom backsplash feature is available in Home Designer Architectural and Professional. So next we're going to go ahead and adjust our materials to be this white material for our countertops and backsplash. And so what I'm going to do is go up to the library browser, and I've already got a material picked out, and this one is going to be from Cambria. And then I'm going to select it, and then I'm going to change our scoping mode to be room wide, and then I'm going to click on our countertop. That's going to replace the existing countertop material anywhere it's at in the room, and then I'm going to do the same thing for our backsplash. So next, if you take a look at the photo of the completed design, I want to adjust the cabinet materials that you see slightly here. And what I've done is I've gone out to Google and just did a simple search for kitchens, and I found a picture of a cabinet material I would like to use in the plan. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this picture onto my main monitor by making the program a little bit smaller just momentarily. And then in the plan, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back up to that adjust material definition tool, and I'm going to select on the cabinet. And then if you come to texture, you'll notice that there's this option down here for material color, and it says blend with texture. And if you're using Home Designer Suite, this is just on the main panel, and it says blend color and texture. But what you can do is you can select a different color that you would like to blend with the wood grain. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the material eyedropper right here, and this allows you to pick a different material from your computer screen. And so I'm just going to come over to this picture, pick the different material, and then click on OK. You can see a little preview of how it's blending, and then I'm going to click on OK again. And then anywhere that material is located in the plan, it's just going to blend the two together. Similarly, I'm going to come over to our barn door and blend the two by going back up to the material eyedropper, clicking on the barn door, and then once again going to texture, blend the mid color with the texture, and then just picking that same material again from the photo. So that's going to be all the work that we do with this photo over here. It's just kind of a cool feature you can use in the software, and I'm going to make this our full screen again. So next I want to talk about adding objects and accessories into the design. You can see in our completed photo that we have furniture in our living room, we have some stools, a fruit basket, and other accessories throughout. So these are just objects in the library browser. If I come over to the library browser, you can just scroll through and you can see that there's going to be some different accessories, especially if we go down to our bonus libraries. There's going to be a lot of different options. You just download these from over at homedesignersoftware.com. If you come over to the user center and then down to catalog and content download is where you can find these. And then here you can just click on download, and you can use these filters in the top right hand corner to see which catalogs are applicable for your program. I already have a lot of catalogs downloaded, so I'm just going to search for that fruit basket that I want to place, and then I'm just going to come in and then just click once to place it. If you know that this was an item that you might use in other plans, you can select it and then click on the button that says add to library, and then that's going to add it to your user library. Similarly, if you knew that you might reuse this island in other plans, you can add this whole entire island to your user library. And I'm going to do this by going back up to our floor plan view, and I'm going to first select all these cabinets by holding our cabinet tool, holding shift, and then marqueing around the cabinets, and then holding control. I'm going to make sure that I select that countertop, the faucet, and then that fruit basket. And in the bottom corner, there's an option that says make architectural block. And this architectural block feature becomes available in Home Designer Architectural. And then once you do that, you can click on the add to library button. That's going to add this island to your user library, and then you can select it and then rename it if you would like. You'll notice that for this demo, I have a folder in my user catalog for furniture and accessories. So I'm going to select that, and then I'm just going to click and place a few more accessories in our design. And then I'm just going to move these chairs a little bit underneath the countertop. And then you'll notice that I have a block titled living room furniture. I'm just going to come in and click to place it, and then I'm going to push it up against the wall here. And if you go up into our manufacturer catalogs, we actually partner with some furniture manufacturers like Wayfair Trade, for example, to get their content available in the software. So there's going to be thousands of items that you can pick from in the software to really customize your design. The dimensioning tools also work on these objects. If you see a couch that's too big, you can resize it to that smaller or fine-tune where it's located at in the plan. For this demonstration, the last block we're going to add is going to be this dining set over in the dining room area. So let's close out of our library browser to give us a little bit more screen space. And if we go back to our 3D camera, you can see how this design is really starting to come together. So next we need to add some electrical items into our plan. So I'm going to go back up to our floor plan view. And to add electrical items, you go up to your electrical tool in the toolbar, and there's going to be options for outlets, there's going to be options for lights, switches, auto place outlets, and then connect electrical. If we select the auto place outlets and then click in our kitchen room, the program's going to automatically place outlets throughout the plan, and you'll notice in those areas around the back wall that it placed GFCI outlets. And if we take a look in our 3D view, the program's automatically placed those above our countertop. Next, let's place a can light. So let's go back to our floor plan view. And to place a can light, still under the electrical tools, there's going to be a can light option. And I'm just going to come in here and click once to place it. And I know that I want it centered in between these two soffits. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to the CAD line option, and I'm just going to drag and create a standard CAD line between the two soffits. And then I'm just going to make sure that I have this can light centered on the CAD line. And by doing that, we know that it's perfectly centered between the two soffits, and then I can just delete the CAD line. And then zooming out, I'm going to place a couple more copies of this can light. I'm going to select it, and then in Home Designer, Architectural, and Professional, you could continue copying it, placing it, and then dimensioning them. But I'm going to use that Transform Replicate feature that's available in Pro, just like we did earlier. So I'm going to select it, and I'm going to specify that I want to place 2 more copies. And I'm going to place these a negative 84 inches in our Y delta. And I chose a negative 84 inches because that's how far apart we placed these soffits earlier. And then I'm going to hold Control and select this other can light again. And then I'm once again going to use that Transform Replicate, and I'm going to press Copy. And this time we're going to make 3 more copies, and we're going to place them in negative 96 inches in our X delta to place them this way. And click on OK. And there we've got those can lights added. And then if we zoom in over here, I'm going to go ahead and just place a switch to show you how you can connect the lights to your switches. So I'm just going to place a switch here, and then there's an option right here that says Connect Electrical, and then from here you can indicate which lights are going to which switch. And if you ever needed to adjust these Connect Electrical arcs, you can do so like this. So next we're going to add a few more lights over the island. So I'm going to open up the library browser, and I've got those lights saved over in my user catalog. So I'm just going to come in and click once to place where I want them. And then I'm also going to place a chandelier over our table. And then I'm just going to make sure I have it centered. So next, if you take a look at the photo of the completed design, we're going to add some skylights over into this area of the plan. So the skylight tools in the program are going to be located under the roof options. So go up to Build, Roof, and then depending on which program you have, you're going to have different options here. But for this example, you just want to select Skylight, and then just come in and click to drop it. And then you can resize it in this view. So if you want to change the length or the width, you can. I'm just going to change it to that. And then I'm going to go ahead and center it over the can light by selecting the skylight, the center object, and just coming in and centering it. And then I'm going to delete this electrical connection and then delete the can light. And I'm going to make 2 more copies of it by selecting it and then selecting Transform Replicate. And then I'm going to specify that the number of copies we're going to make is going to be 2. And then we're going to move these a negative 84 inches in the Y delta, and then click on OK. And then that's going to add those skylights. And then I'm just going to select this can light and delete it. And then once I move my camera slightly, we'll select the other can light and delete it. And then if we look back in our 3D view, we now have those skylights added to the plan. So next I want to talk about 3D rendering. We've been using just our standard rendering technique throughout this demonstration, but if you come up to this option at the top that says rendering techniques, you're going to have various rendering techniques available. Here we're in the standard rendering technique, but we can switch over to our vector view, which becomes available in Home Designer Architectural. There's a glass house view, and that's kind of a neat one because you can see through objects and see what's on the other side. If you're using Home Designer, Architectural, or Professional, there's a technical illustration. In Architectural or Professional, there's a watercolor. And then if you're using Home Designer, Architectural, or Professional, there's this option for physically based rendering. And this is going to be the highest form of 3D rendering in Home Designer software. So notice how that when we select this option, the scene looks a lot more photorealistic. We're getting reflections off of our stainless steel and off of our flooring. If we go up to the rendering technique options and turn on our shadows, we'll see shadows displayed in our render. And as we move around, this view will update. Additionally, if you use a backdrop outside, the lighting will be impacted by your backdrop. The program already has a backdrop selected by default, but you can add more backdrops by opening up the library browser. And then if you look in the bonus catalogs, there's a backdrops folder available that you can download from the website. And from here, you can just select a backdrop and then insert it into your plan. And you can also take a picture of a scene and import it into the software and use it as a custom backdrop. So if you're building a house or adding an addition on to the house, you can see what different windows will look like. I already have a backdrop selected and I'm just going to click to place it. And more information on how to add a backdrop to your user catalog is available over at homedesignersoftware.com. So there you can see what looking out this window would look like. So next, let's create a layout sheet in the software, and this is what the layout sheet looks like. And you can assemble different pieces of information and your various views. In this particular example, we have a cleaned up floor plan view. You can create an elevation, which we'll do in a minute, and then you can also send your 3D renders over to this layout sheet. And this layout sheet feature is only available in Home Designer Professional. So to create a layout, go up to File, and then New Layout. But for this demonstration, I already have a layout sheet started, so I'm going to load that file now. And so here's what that layout file looks like. You can put your information on here if you want to. You can put your address, what type of information you're going to be including. And new to Home Designer 2021 is the ability to print at any size you need. So if you needed to print at 24 by 36, you can do that in the latest version of the software. So let's first send out a floor plan view. And I'm going to clean up our floor plan view by turning off some of the unnecessary layers. So I'm going to go up to the layer display options, and then I'm just going to turn off the layer for our soffits that you see here, and that's going to be under cabinet soffits. I'm going to scroll down a little bit and turn off our electrical layers. I'm then going to go down to the roof layers by typing R in the keyboard, and you can see that we still see our roof planes, so I'm going to hide those. I'm also going to hide our skylights, and that's the roof openings layer. And then I'm going to hide the display of these dimensions that we see for the room labels. So I'm just going to uncheck room's interior dimensions and click on OK. And that's going to clean up our floor plan quite a bit. And if you wanted to add dimensions or turn on cabinet labels or anything else, you could do that. But for this demonstration and example, I'm fine with it how it is. So I'm going to go to File, Send to Layout. And then here you can tell the program how you want to send this over to your layout and the scale that you want to send it over. So let's go ahead and send it over at a 1/2 inch equals 1 foot and click on OK. And there we're going to have that on the layout, and then you can just reposition where it's at on the layout if you wanted to. Next, let's create a wall elevation and send it over into this area. So I'm going to go back to our floor plan view. And to create a wall elevation, go up to your orthographic tools, and the wall elevation camera will be under your other camera options in Home Designer Suite or Architectural. And then we're looking for the one that says wall elevation, and then I'm just going to click and point it in the middle here. And then next, before we dimension our cabinetry, I'm going to change our dimension settings so that we only pick up our cabinetry related items. And the ability to do this is a feature only available in Home Designer Professional. So I'm going to go up to our default settings, and I'm going to go down to dimensions, and then I'm going to click on this option that says dimensions. And then under locate objects, I'm going to specify that we're going to include cabinet sides, uncheck corners, and then I'm going to uncheck all the other options that you see here so that when we run a dimension line, we only pick up our cabinets. I'm going to click on OK, and then done. And then I'm going to go up to our manual dimension tool. And the ability to dimension a wall elevation like this becomes available in Home Designer Architectural and Professional. And then just click to start over here, and then drag it all the way through these cabinets. and then I'm going to select that dimension, and with that little square handle I'm going to move it down, and you'll notice that there's little diamond handles coming off of these extensions. These diamonds allow you to either click and drag to remove items that you're dimensioning to. I'm going to go ahead and undo that. Or you can select the dimension line and you'll notice that there's an extra diamond there, so you can click and hold and bring that into the plan so that you dimension new objects. I'm going to go ahead and undo that one as well. But next we might want an end-to-end dimension showing the height of our cabinet. So with that dimension selected, I'm going to go to end-to-end and then just start on the floor right here and then just go up to the top of the cabinet. And that's looking good, so I'm going to go ahead and send this over to our layout sheet. And here you can specify how you want it to update, if you want it to always update on demand, or send it over as plot lines. I'm going to go ahead and send it over at 1/2 inch equals 1 foot and click on OK. And then next I'm just going to bring it over into the corner of the layout. And if you wanted to clean up this view, you can come over and just slide it over so that it's not going so far over the sides. And then just reposition it a little bit. And then there's going to be standard text tools and CAD tools. So if you needed to write a message about the scale or the view or anything like that, maybe add construction notes if you're submitting for permits, you can go ahead and do that. And then the last thing we're going to send over is going to be a 3D view. So I'm going to go back to our camera. I'm going to click send to layout. The program's going to ask you how you want to send it over. And I'm going to go ahead and just send it over as an image and click on OK. You can see how it comes over to the layout sheet, and I'm just going to select it and then just scale it down so that it fits on the layout sheet, and then just bring it into the plan a little bit more. And then you could once again just reposition it wherever you want to. And with that, that's going to conclude this demonstration.